Welcome, Realtors. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Adair Senn, and I'm a Realtor from Greer, South Carolina, and I serve as the NAR Federal Political Coordinator for Congressman William Timmons.
Thank you, Adair. My name is Lyles, and I'm from Columbia, and I am proud to serve as the president of the South Carolina Realtors this year. We're honored to have Congressman Timmons here with us, and thank you, Congressman, for your leadership in Washington and your support of the real estate industry and home ownership.
May is the time of year we all look forward to attending the NAR legislative meetings in our nation's capital, but due to coronavirus, we're not there again. It's one of my favorite meetings, and I hate that we can't all be together. For our members who are watching, we hope our conversation today inspires you to attend next year's meetings when hopefully we'll be back in Washington.
I also hate missing these meetings. This is my favorite time to come up to DC and visit everyone and see what's happening, and also visit with our representatives in Washington. I know that the Congressman is on a tight schedule, so let's go ahead and get started today.
All righty. Congressman, thank you for being with us today. And before we get into all the real estate questions, let me say thank you for all that you do for us. And give us a little update on how you've been for the past 12 months with the pandemic and all the crazy things happening in Washington. How are you doing?
Well, thank you. It's great to be with y'all. I'm hopeful that this is the last time we will be doing virtual, and that next year we'll have 25 members, 25 of the realtors in my office like we did 2 years ago. So, hopefully this will be behind us soon. So I got married 18 months ago, and I was a newlywed during COVID, and I'm very fortunate that my wife and I are still married. I joke that it counts for 5 years. So we're gonna skip our 2-year anniversary and just celebrate our 7th. But I'm very fortunate that we continue to get along. That's good. Serving in the National Guard has been challenging. I had training in Montgomery, Alabama twice for 2, actually 5-week stints. And I, as of 25 minutes ago, just graduated with my master's in cybersecurity from NYU. So in addition to just being a member of Congress and the challenges that entails, I have decided to put more things on my plate, and I am not going to get another graduate degree anytime soon. It was pretty challenging. But as we can see with recent events, cybersecurity is incredibly important. And there's a lot of people in Greenville and in Spartanburg and really in the Southeast generally that are worried about whether they're going to be able to put gas in their car and to go to work. And the impact that the Colonial Pipeline's having right now justifies the time and money that I have spent to become an expert in cybersecurity. So that was good. Health-wise, I used to exercise five days a week, twice a day, and now I'm good if I exercise 5 times a month. So that's never a good trend. I'm trying to correct that trend, but overall, I'm just fortunate that we're getting through things. I mean, the pandemic was rough, and this year has been challenging, but I do think that the brighter days are ahead, and I think that Greenville and Spartanburg and South Carolina are just an incredible position to thrive. Obviously, everybody saw the Wall Street Journal article. I know that all my friends that try to sell their house, I tell them, I'm like, whatever you think you're gonna get for it, add at least $100,000 to it, just to don't sell it. If you sell your house within 6 hours, you have not asked for enough money. So it's incredible the stories I hear from my friends. So anyways, I'm doing as well as anybody can be in these difficult times, and it's just an honor and a privilege to serve the 4th Congressional District in Congress, and I'm hopeful that our brighter days are ahead.
Thank you, Congressman. As the U.S. continues to recover from the pandemic, realtors are monitoring a number of issues that are impacting this nation's homeowners, the real estate industry, the health of our mortgage market, American consumers everywhere. There are 9.5 million jobs in real estate and in the rental and leasing industry, and every 2 home sales generate 1 job in this country. The issues that matter to our industry matter to our nation, and they'll play a critical role in America's economic recovery.
You're absolutely correct, Morris. Throughout the pandemic, the residential real estate market has had a positive economic impact on homeowners, communities, and the economy. However, access to the residential real estate market has been severely limited by a historic 50-year record shortage of affordable homes to purchase. So, Congressman, what do you think, if anything, that Congress can do to help address the affordable housing shortage in our country?
Sure. And really, it's getting exponentially worse now that we're starting to see inflation, and it's really going to become increasingly problematic. So the first thing Congress can do is stop spending money we don't have, because part of the reason we have inflation is because we're spending like drunken sailors. So that's one part of the conversation. And then I do think that there's a role for the government to help create the market forces, so people that have lived in an area of Greenville or Spartanburg their whole lives are not pushed out and have to move to a more rural area. My business is in Unity Park in downtown Greenville, and the city of Greenville has taken steps to incentivize affordable housing, and they're trying to do it in a way that is not overly burdensome on developers. So I'm going to talk a lot about local and about state, because I do think that the federal government is not in a very good position to address affordable housing, because it's a different conversation in New York City versus Greenville, South Carolina. But I do think that it's appropriate for the city and the county and the state to take steps to create the market forces necessary that will allow people, allow developers and allow people to have more affordable housing options. So, the city's doing a lot of interesting things. They deed restrict certain property to where if you want to buy the piece of property, 20% of it has to be affordable housing. My business partner is actually doing a project right now where 20% of it will be affordable housing. But those are the kind of things that we need to be looking at, not mandates, because if you mandate, all it is a tax on developer, and then the developer just passes those costs along to other people in the actual unit. So finding a way to create market forces that will allow people to invest and develop affordable housing projects in the areas that we need the most. I think that's how we thread the needle and get this done.
Thank you, Congressman Timmons. If more residential housing is made available as part of our effort to improve the nation's infrastructure, opportunities to access the wealth building benefits of homeownership will increase alongside with employment levels and economic activity. Indeed, a recent study estimates that the U.S. has developed an underbuilding gap of 5.5 million housing units over the last 20 years. And this translates into a $4.4 trillion underinvestment in housing. Even relatively modest steps taken now to reduce this gap will unleash tremendous economic activity and create millions of new jobs. Realtors support the Bipartisan Housing Supply and Affordability Act and the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. Can we count on your support of these bills?
So I appreciate that. I'm looking at it right now. My team tells me I'm not allowed to say I'll support anything without fully vetting it by them. But it does seem like good policy. I know that Senator Scott's supportive of it. And if your DC team is pushing it, I can promise you I'm not going to get in the way of it. And while I'm thinking about that, I just want to make sure that y'all are aware. Y'all have such an incredible team in Washington. Shannon McGann is incredible. Joe Harris is incredible. Ryan Rustbolt. You've got just an awesome team that is running the show up here for the Realtors. So they're just a pleasure to work with. But I don't want to give you a 100% answer, but I can get back to you on that for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Congressman. Hey, let's don't forget the importance of the 1031 like-kind exchanges. We need to preserve that vital tool.
You need to call Congressman Clyburn about that. I agree with you and I support it, but the things that are coming out of my colleagues across the aisle, it's just some crazy stuff. And I think that we're probably getting to the point where they realize they're not going to be able to pass anything that's super progressive. But we're going to continue to have these conversations, and ultimately, if you want to spend $5 trillion on this, that, and the other, you're going to have to find a way to raise some more tax revenue. And I think the worst idea ever is to raise taxes coming out of a pandemic. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm open to these conversations long term. Tax code, we got to spend within our means. And if they want to adjust tax code one way or the other, it's reasonable to have those conversations, but not right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's change topics a little bit from taxes to independent contractors. So the re-examination of the independent contractor status has become a topic of intense discussion. And I know you're aware of the PRO Act. More than 87% of NAR's 1.4 million members are classified as independent contractors. And we choose to be classified as independent contractors for the freedom, flexibility. We're entrepreneurs. This is what we're looking for. Are you supportive of the long-standing federal recognition of real estate professionals to operate as independent contractors?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with the current status quo. And, if y'all wanted something different, we could talk about it, but I don't know why the federal government is going to be getting in the way of something that is currently working well. Actually, I do know the federal government loves to mess things up, but I am not in favor of the federal government messing anything up.
Thank you, Congressman. As stewards of the right to own, use, and transfer private property, our livelihoods and businesses as realtors depend on an open housing market that's free from discrimination. Our economy, communities, and the American people suffer when discrimination and segregation artificially constrain homeownership and limit the intergenerational wealth that it builds. Yet more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, the homeownership rates for African Americans, Hispanics, and Asian Americans continues to lag behind that of white Americans. What can Congress do to help with that?
Sure. We see this challenge in all different parts of our society, whether it's the military, law enforcement, so we got a lot of conversations going on right now about race and about racial disparities. And I think it's productive to talk about what's the problem and can we agree that that's the problem, and then how do we fix it, and not talk about the what is causing the problem. So I'll give you an example in the military. So in the Air Force, if you are Black or Hispanic, you are twice as likely to get a judicial or a non-judicial punishment if you're an E1 to E5, so lower enlisted. That's a problem. I mean, that should not be that way. Now, the next question is that everybody wants to say, well, is the Air Force racist? And I don't think the Air Force is racist, but a lot of people use that data to then say the Air Force is racist. So we're going to disagree on that part, but we're not going to disagree on it's a problem and we should do something about it. So again, in the Air Force perspective, we create mentorship programs. We can create opportunities to make sure that people on the straight and narrow and do what they're supposed to do, and take remedial measures prior to getting to the point where there's a punishment that has to be doled out. So again, that's just one microcosm of this. So I guess the next question is, related to housing, do we have racist housing policies? I don't think we do. I mean, I think there's a question about economic opportunity and about the ability for people to pursue the American dream to the best of their ability. There's cyclical generational poverty. There are a lot of issues that we can focus on that we can then tackle. But the answer isn't a bunch of federal laws surrounding housing policy. It's about opportunity. It's about helping people achieve whatever they view the American dream to be. So I don't think the federal government needs to force anyone to do anything as it relates to housing policy, but I do think that we can take steps to give additional opportunities without disadvantaging other people. So that's the biggest issue. How do you give additional opportunities to individuals that we want to give opportunities to without doing so in a way that it disadvantages other people? So those are the policies that I'll be pursuing as a member of Congress.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So the Biden administration recently introduced the American Families Plan, and we appreciate the efforts to lead the nation on a path to economic recovery. However, There are some proposals in the president's plan that will negatively impact the economic growth and depress commercial real estate. What's your take on the American Families Plan?
I want to help get everybody back to work. I want to help our economy grow to the best of our ability. But a lot of the policies that are coming out of the administration, I don't really think they're Joe Biden's policies. I think it's the far left that is demanding certain progressive policies be implemented. You know, I think we got to be very careful as the federal government continues to spend money we don't have. It creates, I mean, we're just mortgaging our future. We're putting debt on our children and grandchildren, and hell, at this point, our great grandchildren. So, you know, we need to be responsible stewards of that money. You know, an area that I like more is infrastructure. I really think that infrastructure is a reasonable place to spend money, even if it's money we don't have. I mean, I'm okay doing some deficit spending for infrastructure because that's an investment. That's an investment. But it's not going to be $3 trillion. It's going to be 600 billion, 700 billion, 800 billion. So, I mean, these are the conversations we're going to have. And then we always get into what is infrastructure. That's always fun. But, you know, I think that these conversations are going to get more realistic here in the coming weeks and months. We have to do something on infrastructure by the end of September. So, you know, we're going to get moving in the right direction. But I don't think that there's an appetite to spend $2 trillion on social programs at this point. So anyways, those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Congressman. Before we go, one final question for you. Over the last 12 months, obviously over the last 15 months, you recently were married, and congratulations. And but over the last 12 months, we were all kind of locked down and maybe spending more time with our family than we wanted to. And then we also got time to spend with our family that we maybe would not have had. So it's been a kind of an interesting thing. But you know, some of us learned to cook some, or even learned to speak a new language. Is there anything that y'all took upon while you were locked down that you know was your favorite pastime?
Well, my wife and I enjoyed cooking. Obviously, you know, you can't go out. It's incredible how much money you spend at restaurants. I mean, you know, I'm sure like many Americans, they saw they're just like, wait a minute, how is it, you know, $20 to have an incredible meal at home, but it costs $200 if you go out anyways. I mean, you get it. So we spent a lot of time cooking. We experimented with some new and different dishes. So that was good. I spent a ton of time on my master's. Like I said, I just defended my master's thesis today. So I think I wrote over 200 pages of papers in the last 12 months. My master's thesis was 32 pages. And then I wrote a paper on section 230 that was 20 something pages long. So, you know, I've just been doing a lot of reading and writing and classwork. So that took up a lot of my time. And then, as I said earlier, the National Guard loves to make me do things. So that's what the military does, though. They order you to do things, and you're like, yes, I'll do that. But yeah, I've tried to exercise more. I love these things, AirPods. You know, I can't tell you how many conference calls I've been on where I was out in the neighborhood running, or I bought a rower as well, so I can row in the garage, and it's been good. But yeah, I mean, I'm just ready to get back to normal. I don't know if they're gonna make everybody get vaccines. Why do we still have to wear masks? That's what I want to know. You know, as we all have seen, anybody that wants to get a shot has gotten one, and what's the plan? I mean, yeah. I don't get it. We're still doing a lot of stuff remote in Congress. I appreciate the governor taking steps that he's taken to get people back to work. I've gotten dozens and dozens of calls from small business owners that can't get people to come back to work because the federal government's paying them $16 an hour, $600 and something to stay home. And that's not going to help our economy get where we need to get. It's not going to help us grow out of this pandemic. So we got to make sure that we're making it easier to reopen, not easier to remain closed. And that's something I'm really focusing on up here. I'm going to turn it around to y'all, though. I have a question for y'all.
Sure.
lot of my friends have been trying to build houses or buy houses, and on the build side, I mean, not only lumber, but the cost of PVC pipes, the cost of materials, they're just going through the roof. Oh,
Mhm.
can you hear me?
Nope,
I got you.
I didn't.
Can you not, you know,
Well, you got it, Morris. So
Yeah.
are you hearing these same challenges?
yeah.
Or
So we're seeing a lot of builders have what they call escalation clauses as part of their contracts. And they're going in and saying, if this happens, then we'll raise the price this amount. Somebody in my office today came in and said the Sherwin-Williams stores here in Columbia ran out of paint. How do you run out of paint if you're in the paint business? I mean, you know, what are you going to do? And it is, I went to go get a key made for a new listing this morning and they were out of key blanks. It's just strange. And I don't know where the breakdown in the supply chain is happening, but it's making it real tough. And, you know, I think that what we've got to do is, you know, as salespeople and agents, we've got to be able to set the expectations for our buyers that this is the market, but also, you know, at some point we're going to start to see buyers go, yeah, I'm going to wait a little while. You know, I hate to say that, but that's going to be the reality of it. And, you know, so I think we'll see price appreciation slow down some, but the building of the new houses, that's totally up to commodities and everything else. Adair, I don't know if you heard me or not, but would you agree with?
I heard what you said. I didn't hear
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
Everything you said is exactly correct. I mean, I have a new construction home that's on hold because the builder can't get spray foam insulation.
Mm-hmm. It's strange
They're
things.
just
And
on hold.
Yeah.
Nobody can do anything about it.
well, when the federal government's paying everybody to stay home and nobody's working, I can imagine that has understandable consequences. So
Sure.
again, anybody wants a shot, get one, go back to work. I mean, that's the shortest version. Stop spending money we don't have on things that we don't need. So,
Yeah.
well, y'all got anything else?
That's it. We just thank you so much for your time today. I know you've got a busy schedule, and on behalf of our 26,000 members back here in South Carolina, we appreciate your time, and we look forward to being able to be with you next year when we come up to DC. We miss this trip as we talked about, and it's always a fun one, and it's always good to meet with you guys and catch up on things.
Well, we will definitely get together next year. Might even have to go somewhere for a cocktail after. So
That'd be
Let's-
great.
And I'll see you next week. Coffees and conversation. I'll be there.
ask me a softball.
I'll
Be
get you
nice.
one. I'll get you one. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So,
Great.
thank you. Y'all
Have a
good
good
Y'all.
one.